Thank you, Mr. President. Over the last decade and a half, we have been entertaining discussions with Prince George's County Public Works and Transportation about taking over the maintenance responsibilities and the right-of-way of these roads from Prince George's County, primarily because in the course of our day-to-day duties, as well as snow removal operations, we're taking care of these roads anyway. So the thought here was to go ahead and assume ownership or assume responsibility so that we could take advantage of the fuel tax that these roads would provide. Also, we're looking at enforcement efforts. That portion of Dorset Road that is in the county, we can enforce traffic laws there, but we don't regularly set up there because it is a county road. After it becomes city, if it becomes a city road, then we can better enforce the traffic laws in that location. I have Rob Free here. He can basically discuss the nuts and bolts of each of the streets involved. With that, we'll take any questions.
Well, first of all, a question from my perspective is, will these roads be brought up to standards before we take them over?
I know Brooklyn Bridge Road was done when the Obama stimulus came out. They fully paved it, and we had submitted plans for them to mark it in such a way that it was friendly for both walkers and bicyclists. So they will not put in a curb and gutter sidewalk because the drainage is in ditches, and there is no storm drain system along Brooklyn Bridge Road. So the road has just been totally reconstructed not too long ago.
Brooklyn Bridge Road.
Brooklyn Bridge.
Right,
Sandy Spring and Old.
What about Sandy Spring Road?
Sandy Spring and Old Sandy Spring Road from West Street all the way to the end. They did put sidewalk and curb and gutter all the way down to connect it all. As part of our, what we're requiring them is to get WSSC to completely redo all the areas that they've tore up. I noticed that there are no parking signs up and down Sandy Spring and Old Sandy Spring, and WSSC has already got a contractor on ready to start doing all that work.
Thank you. Ms. Nicholas?
No question.
I think it's tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
I think they're marked for
29th?
I think they're marked
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I think they're gonna come and actually start cutting it out. It's all been marked. It's a lot of work.
I think they're 29.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Les?
Yeah, my concern is Brooklyn Bridge Road. What requirements will the city face in the near term with the requirements to mitigate stormwater runoff because of the requirements that were a part of the law for the rainwater tax? I mean, we got a problem there right in front of Clacoon's property now. I mean, there's nowhere to walk and there's nowhere to put a sidewalk in because that's a concrete swale there. The jurisdiction of the city ends right beyond Patuxent Road, and then it's the county, and that's always been a sore spot because there's no way for people to walk along that road. You can't walk on the other side. So again, I'm concerned that we're gonna face some costs in the future that'll be retrofitting, which they're doing in some buildings right now for for increasing water quality from the rainwater fee. Are we gonna be faced with that on Brooklyn Bridge Road? Do we know?
If I could, we are only taking over the road. Prince George's County will maintain stormwater management and all the devices that are out there.
Yeah, but part and parcel of it right there, Mr. Fleming, it includes the sidewalk, because there is no sidewalk and you can't put one in. That's my only concern.
We can put a sidewalk in there. It's just going to cost a fairly significant amount of money.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. Are we gonna bear that cost, have to bear that cost, the citizens of Laurel in the future? I mean, I remember with Van Dusen Road, they had to do a lot of improvements before we took that one over. But again, I'm very concerned about Brooklyn Bridge Road specifically. Okay, the other ones are easy to get to.
I agree.
And again, we need to remember that over the years, the county has been collecting money and supposedly putting in a pot somewhere for sidewalks as new construction took place. And that money's disappeared over the years, all right? But again, when we say that the county's responsible for stormwater, does that include the stormwater that's running off of streets that we now own? That's my question. I mean, I don't have the answer. I'm just asking the question. Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Kerr?
I know we talked about the sidewalks. Does it go, where Dorset Road comes into Sandy Spring, does the sidewalk go past there?
Yes, it goes all the way to the end now,
Right or left or both? Or
both ways,
both ways?
yes.
Okay. That's my only question.
Thank you. Mr. Smalls?
I guess one of the disadvantages of being last is all the questions you want to ask have already been asked. But I'd like, Mr. Furry, if you talk a little bit again about the WSSC repaving along Sandy Spring Road from Van Dusen all the way down, because that's a rough area to drive along right now. All the repair work with WSSC is completed in that area now?
Yes, all the repairs by WSSC are done.
And the 29th,
They haven't paved.
right, but the 29th date that the mayor mentioned, is that the date the repaving is gonna start?
I won't say they're repaving, they're coming out to
Okay.
do all the cuts.
Got it.
Yeah, they gotta start to do all the cuts into the asphalt so that they can excavate it and come in and do full depth and an overlay. I think it's about 75% of the street's supposed to be totally overlaid.
Now, with that said, your department, at the completion of that repaving, does your department get in to inspect, have a look at that project and point out any deficiencies and request that there be some, further repair work done if any is identified?
If it's needed, we will relay that to the county who presently has the maintenance of that
I
road.
got you. Okay.
But yes, Joseph and our inspector will be out there to make sure it's being done right.
Now, just one last thing along those lines is timing of all this and with the city assuming ownership with the repaving, how does that coincide with, this proposal that's in front of us now? Is the repaving project in that area going to be completed before the city takes ownership, or is it going to be somewhere during that process?
I believe what we've asked is for it to be completed before we took it over from them.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you, that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Free.
I think one of the biggest pieces, especially on the Brooklyn Bridge Road piece, is to remember that we'll be able to do some enforcement where there's a lot of issues. So keep that in mind as well. I want to thank Marty and Rob in particular for, this has been a long process for them working this out. I think the Dorset Road, as you know, we put some things in motion already. So I think that's important as well. So we want to finish up that project as well. But thank Marty and Rob for their hard work. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, we're going to, any other questions from the council?
Do we need to suspend the rules for this tonight? No? I don't know what they're, are you all looking for a time frame?
We were just looking for introduction tonight.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. We'll move on to the second item on our work schedule. That's ordinance number 1869, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of Laurel, amending the code of the city of Laurel, chapter 9, miscellaneous provisions and offenses, section 9-20, grocery cart storage, to increase the fine associated with the first violation of this section from $25 to $100, to increase the fine associated with repeat violations of this section from $125 to $250, and to provide the carts found outside the boundaries of the lot of the business to which they belong will be taken to the city, to a city location, and the business owner may retrieve them within 90 days. This is going to be for the first reading. I am proposing this, and so I'll ask the council if they have any questions of what my intent is, and I'll start with Ms. Nicholas. Mr. Liz.
I'm fine with this, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Crary.
Same.
Mr. Smalls.
No issues.
Okay. I will say to the council too, I talked to our clerk today, my intent is that after this is introduced tonight, that I'm going to send out a letter to all shopping establishments in the city of Laurel that will use grocery carts, so they're made well aware of what these provisions are and encourage them to come here. Any questions? Seeing none? Yes, go ahead.
Mr. President, one concern that we have is the 90-day provision for storage. We're hard pressed for storage right now, so I just spoke with Mr. Furry and Mr. Losky, and we would feel better with a 30-day storage, but 90 days is really pushing us as far as our space needs.
All right, we'll certainly take that under consideration. Does the council have any objections to changing the time frame?
I don't.
Seeing no, we'll change it to 30 days. All right, is there anything else to come before the council tonight? Seeing none, we'll stand adjourned until 7 o'clock. City Council, meeting in regular time. This is March the 28th, 2016. I'll ask for Reverend Litchfield to come forward for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Mo. Reverend Litchfield.
Almighty God.